Today's Sunshine Note is titled, Werewolves Do Exist. Immediately, what had been said about Nebuchadnezzar was fulfilled. He was driven away from people and ate grass like cattle. His body was drenched with the dew of heaven until his hair grew like the feathers of an eagle and his nails like the claws of a bird. Daniel 4:33. The woman began scratching the bed and growling at her husband, who jumped away in a panic. For days, she'd been saying that she wasn't feeling right and that she was scared of something in the mirror. Now she was slashing, clawing, and snarling at him like a wild animal. He tried to calm her down, but she would have none of it. She ran around the room in a wild frenzy, and finally, when she stopped by the mirror, she thought she saw the face of a wolf with fangs and a snout staring at her. The woman was only 49 years old and had no history of drug use and had been quite sane a day or two before. But now she was convinced that she had transformed into a wolf and she needed to be let out to roam the hills in search of meat. The psychiatric term for this illness is known as lycanthropy. It is considered to be a chronic form of schizophrenia and is still found in modern industrial cities today. The story above of Nebuchadnezzar shares many facets of similarity with the diagnosed illness, and even some ancient tablets found in 1975 seem to hint at the illness that struck Nebuchadnezzar while out on the walls of the city surrounding his building projects. It's said that he became unintelligible, not recognizing his wife or children, and had to be removed from society for a time. It says that the illness lasted for a while and that the king's advisors had to run the kingdom while he was ill. This at first just seems like a kind of crazy story, except that it's couched in a prophetic dream in which God had warned Nebuchadnezzar of his fate. And of course, it was left up to Daniel to explain things. The end result of Nebuchadnezzar's bout of lycanthropy was positive. At the end of 7 years, just as the prophecy had said, his sanity returned. He looked up to heaven and finally realized where he stood in the grand scheme of things. God had been working with Nebuchadnezzar for years, but this final story is a conversion story, because in the end it says he praised and worshipped Daniel's God. I hope it won't take something as drastic as lycanthropy to get our attention, but God is trying just as hard to reach each of us today. Are you listening for him? What do you think he wants to say to you right now? May God bless you today.